Are you ready to have your mind blown? Well, a couple of weeks ago, I made a video about how UFOs might be using the stars as portals. And I had several points of corroboration for this, and I'll go over briefly a couple of those. But let's go into the new information, and that is on a recent episode of Fade to Black with Jimmy Church. Steve Mera, one of my favorite ufologists of all time, had some really interesting and amazing information about UFOs and the sun. Are you ready? So get in here. This is Jack with Cosmic Road. I talk about UFOs and the paranormal. Please like, please subscribe, share on social media, and let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I am fascinated by this idea that the UFOs could be using stars as portals. It doesn't seem to make a lot of sense, does it? I mean, a star is hugely dense and is going to incinerate anything that comes even close to it. Even being here on Earth, we can get skin cancers from the sun. So how on earth could these objects go in and out of suns, much less use them as portals? Well, according to the information I presented in the last video on this subject, such disparate sources as the lady, in the Chris Bledsoe story, the goddess, who may or may not be the goddess Hathor, she gave Chris 6 songs in our popular culture that she said contained a lot of truth about the phenomenon. One of those songs was Children of the Sun, and on that video I made a few weeks ago, I read the lyrics of that song, but there are beings that come in and out of the sun, according to that song, coming from beyond, from elsewhere. So that's one, avenue of information for that idea. Another is the remote viewing session that Dick Algier did on the Phoenix Lights. If you're a member of the Crypto Viewings Patreon, you will be able to see that video. But Dick has this fascinating, presentation that he does. And when he's remote viewing the Phoenix Lights, he's able to interact with a being, a Nordic type being, aboard the giant UFO over Phoenix. And he's able to get some information from that being's mind. That being seems to have been interacting with him consciously, even though this is a remote viewing of something in the past, which is something you get in remote viewing sometimes, as well as past life regressions. You can interact with individuals as if they are aware of you, and they seem to be. So, also alien abduction sometimes. So anyway, really interesting in that remote viewing session. The Nordic told Dick that we don't understand what space is. And, for example, the stars are holes in reality. And they, these advanced beings can come and go from the stars at will. And that's how they travel, from one point, from point to point in our reality. They can just hop from star to star. They apparently leave our reality through the star. Because it is a hole in our reality, and they, circle back around through, the higher dimensions or beyond the multiverse, wherever it is they go, and then they punch back through another star. So that's fascinating, right? It raises a lot of questions. There's so many portals that are said to be in existence on Earth where you can actually go from planet to planet. So why can't they just use those? Is that like a remote, location that's, the sun is the hub, and then these are the various nodes of the hub, possibly? I don't know. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And another point of corroboration is Haim Eshed, when he said that the beings would not allow disclosure until humanity had progressed, until we had learned what space and spaceships were. Well, from what that Nordic said, space is not what we think it is. Suns are holes in reality, and the spaceships are going not from star to star in our conventional space, but outside of our reality itself. So that seems to answer some of the questions brought up by Haim Eshed's information. So now we move on to new information. Steve Mera, one of my favorite ufologists, says that a particular satellite, I believe he says it's the SOHO satellite, correct me if I'm wrong, and it has captured hundreds of UFOs coming and going from the sun. And he has more information about that, so let's dive in.
Astronomers and physicists will bring up that part of the argument that we would see interstellar travel, we would see trade routes, we would see evidence of this occurring because they are still thinking, nuts and bolts, that's how the travel would be. And that's probably not the case. You wouldn't be.
No, I don't think so. I think, if we're dealing with an extraterrestrial advanced civilization, then surely they've worked out how a method to cross such vast distances without having to literally travel. Now, we could talk about wormhole technology. I think my personal opinion is that they're utilizing stars. There's huge energies and magnetic fields around stars could be utilized to creating literally a punch a hole through from star to star, like star hoppers, in a sense of speaking. And why would it come to such a conclusion? The SOHO satellites, which have been monitoring our sun for quite a number of years now, the amount of recorded video footage of UFOs around the sun, entering the sun, coming out of the sun, is ridiculous. There are thousands of these things that are regularly recorded and reported. And it's far too many to just throw away that theory that they're utilizing stars somehow because they seem to be non-physical. How can a craft just enter into the sun? You think it'd be burned up. But that's our physics, and that's our understanding. And how does an apparition walk through a wall? When people claim to be abducted, how do they be taken through a solid wall? It's our physics which seems to cause that limitation of how we think. And I think once we get out of that, as soon as you draw a line and say, okay, there's beyond that, there's a new form of physics involved.
Whoa, isn't that amazing? So UFOs are coming and going from the sun. What the heck? In large numbers, vast numbers of UFOs have been tracked going in and out of the sun. Are they potentially using it as a fuel source? I don't buy that idea. I mean, they don't need gas or whatever to fuel up, or plasma or whatever. I mean, they've got 0 point energy or element 115 or whatever it is they've got. They've got it. I don't think they need to fuel up with stars, but I could be wrong. I would love for them to come down and say, hey, this is how it works, and we use the stars as fuel. But until that day, I don't think they use the stars as fuel. I think they've got this covered. Whether they've got a wormhole or something inside their ship that they're able to contain with some fancy stuff that they can, draw power from, whatever it is, they've got this covered. So I'm not quite buying that idea. Steve Mera, I think, is on point when he's saying that they may use these stars as wormholes. But he seems to be saying it in the conventional meaning of the word wormhole, where, moving from point to point within our galaxy or our reality, our universe. And, I think that the, truth may be even more complex and more bizarre than that, according to the information presented by the lady, or at least suggested by the lady, as well as the Nordic being that Dick Allgeier interacted with. So I think that these beings somehow are able to come and go from the sun. And now we have, 3 points of corroboration from that original story. And so that's 4 avenues of information saying the same thing. I've got a good friend that says, and he's got real abilities, and he believes, well, he has intuited that this is what's going on. So I thought that was really fascinating. So thank you, Lance, for the really interesting information. And he told me all this before I had come across these other points of information. So really, really interesting. And so I love it. I don't know what it means. It's juicy. It may be a huge clue to where these beings come from, some of them. You know, people like Whitley Strieber and Deep Prasad, alien or UFO contactees and abductees, when they are taken, they say they are taken to a different level of reality. Could that level be through the sun? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you have enjoyed this video, please give it a big thumbs up. I sure would appreciate it. Smash the subscribe button and the bell to be notified of future videos. Join me on social media. There's Facebook and Twitter links below. Love to see you guys there. And please, if you get a chance, share this video on social media. That helps a lot. And check out some of my other videos if you get a chance. Until next time, this is Jack with Cosmic Road, signing out.